This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and what we have here is the infamous Fisher-Price kiddie record player from the 80s. I think they actually made these from about 1978 up until the late 80s, early 90s, and if you were a kid during that time period, then chances are you had one of these. I guess as far as kiddie record players go, these are nice machines. They're pretty well built. They're certainly better than the cardboard case kiddie jobs that everybody else made. But there's one problem with these. They're held together by 4 special tri-wing safety screws. They started that crap in the 70s because they didn't want little Johnny to open the record player and electrocute himself. And just to think that back in the 40s they had tube-type kiddie record players with a hot chassis. In some cases, even the metal tone arm was hot. But the thing about those safety screws is finding the proper bit to open them, to remove them, is pretty darn near impossible. I know of one site on the internet that sells the bit to open these Fisher-Price record players, but that bit is about, I don't remember, $25 or $30, something ludicrous. And frankly, the record player is not worth $25 or $30. I can get on eBay at any given time and find at least well, I was going to say a half a dozen, probably a dozen or more that I could buy for anywhere between $10 and $20. So obviously I'm not going to spend $25 on a safety bit just to open this thing up. Now this record player does work, but it needs to be taken apart and lubricated. I can hear some mechanical noise and whatnot. It actually sounds pretty good, but like I said, these are a pain in the butt to work on because you can't get the screws out. Now I know there's some videos on YouTube of how to get the screws out, but with improper safety bits, well, once again, that would entail me buying a set of safety bits that, as far as vintage electronics work, I'd probably never use, and frankly, I just don't want to spend any money on this for something that I'm not going to get nothing out of anyway. So what we're going to do, we're going to attempt to drill out the original screws. If I end up EOLing this thing, you know what? I really don't care, because like I said, these are a dime a dozen on eBay, and it ain't like we're going to be ruining a valuable antique if something should go haywire here. But at least maybe you'll get to get a rare video of what the inside of one of these looks like, because we're getting in this one way or another. If I have to take a hammer and bust in the thing. Okay, this is officially now turned into an EOL video. It's EOL, the Fisher-Price record player. Well, I told you I'd get in it. Of course, it'll never get put back together and used for anything, but like I said, this is all expendable anyway. These are a dime a dozen on eBay, and to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of things that are put together with special screws. If I can't open it with a standard Phillips or flathead screwdriver or a standard nut driver, I really don't care nothing about fooling with it. Okay, here's the rare look of the inside of one of these. At least it uses an AC motor. This is a Matsushita motor. I've seen this in some cheap classroom record players too. Here's our Amplifier Module right here. As you can see, not much to it. Just a little 8-pin IC for the amplifier. The cartridge is a static 79D. Some of these use an 89T like in the classroom record players, but this one has a 79 in it. And it just so happens I have a nice Newcomb school classroom record player that needs a 79 cartridge, so that'll go in the Newcomb record player. And we have a 4-inch speaker here that we can use in some of our vintage electronics repair. Here's the platter removed. You just simply remove the clip from the underside and the platter lifts off. And the grease is pretty much turned to goo on here. Here's our rubber drive wheel. It's all, as you can tell, it doesn't sound too good, and that's all wobbly. And the wheel feels like it's hard as a rock and cracked, so that would have to be replaced, and the cost of a wheel wouldn't even be worth what the record player would bring. Yes, I realize I could have put this on eBay, because at least it did work before I cream puffed it, but like I said, why bother? There's 10 million of them already on eBay. This would just be another one I could put on there for a buy it now of $10 plus $15 shipping, and then eBay would take a 10% cut of the shipping, and the shipping would end up costing me $17.50. So there you go. You know, there's just some things it's just not worth wasting your time fooling with, and this is one of them. And the only way I would order one of those expensive safety screw bits for one of these is if I had a pile of these that I was working on for somebody and they were willing to pay me dearly to repair them. But just for the occasional one I find at the flea market, no. In fact, I've gotten to the point that when I see these at flea markets and thrift stores, I don't even bother picking them up, because given the safety screw problem, I'm not going to the effort. In fact, I don't even remember where I got this one. It's been here so long. I'm sure I picked it up at the Salvation Army or somewhere for a couple of dollars, and then found out it had those safety screws in it that you can't even hardly get a bit for. So that's that. Here's our speaker. It's a 16 ohm half watt. Now, I know that's not the standard impedance for tube equipment, but for a 5-tube radio, it would work just fine. You know, it wouldn't nobody even know the difference, and we don't never throw away a good speaker, so it'll go in our spare parts department. Here's the amplifier. We might find something creative to do with it one day. As you probably can imagine, this runs off of gets its power from a separate winding on the turntable motor, and of course it's rectified and filtered here by half-wave rectifier. Here's our motor. I don't know why I'm saving it, but I'll hang on to it. Might need it for something one day. As you can see, it's riveted together. There's no easy way of taking it apart and cleaning it, but I don't think they ever had that in mind anyway with this. This is one of those record players that you use it until it quits and then you throw it away. However, if I had to oil it, I could slip some oil down in there, but we're not going to be worried about this one anyway. It's now EOL material. And our power cords. You never know when we might need a white power cord for something. You know, it just seems like some of this junk's worth more in parts to fix something else than it is to fix itself. Now, lastly, I'm going to save this tone arm wire, because we often need cartridge wire, and it's getting kind of hard to come by, so I save all the cartridge wire that I can get when I junk out a record player. And this arm is not the easiest thing to break. I'll give them that. They made these things pretty much kid-proof. Okay, it finally snapped with much pulling and twisting. Okay, bye-bye, Fisher Price.